Firstly, I just wanted to thank our special guests, Brandy, Philip, and Lori, for being here tonight. I also wanted to allow you all the opportunity to introduce yourself to our prospective students who are joining us here tonight, and perhaps share the year you completed your program, your profession, and your dissertation title.
I guess I'll start. My name is Cynthia. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking us who we are. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. No problem. Thank you for sharing, though. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Leticia, did you just want us to pop in?
Yes, whoever would like to, yeah, if you guys could just, the three of you would introduce yourselves and share your the year you completed your program, your profession, and your dissertation title.
Okay, awesome. I'm Brandy Avila, and I defended my dissertation last October, so October 2023. So after publishing and everything, I graduated December 2023, and I was in cohort 18 with Lori May here. And I serve as the Dean of Student Development and Wellness at Moreno Valley College in the Inland Empire in Southern California. And so in that capacity, I provide leadership to disability support services, mental health, student health, student life, student conduct, all the fun things, crisis intervention, and lots of other student services areas. And my dissertation was titled, "We Do the Work, You Check the Box, Unearthing the Impact of Racialized Stress and Trauma on Black Women, Community College Educators Who Are Leading in DEI, who is doing DEI work." It's a long title, so I had to write it out. It was my fault that it was long, but yes. So that's what I did. I think I hit all three, and I'll pass it over maybe to Philip.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you. I'm glad you said yours was long. That's why I didn't unmute at first. I was copying and pasting mine over to make sure I got all the words. They are long. I don't know why we do that to ourselves. But hi, everyone. My name's Philip Lance. I graduated this past May. I was in cohort 19. So I defended my dissertation, I think in April. And then it took a little bit of time to get through the edits and the final publication. But I walked and finished in May of this year. Thank you. Outside of my time at LMU, I am a counseling faculty member at Santa Monica College. I serve students in general and transfer counseling there. I've worked in the community colleges for about 9 years, and I've been a counseling faculty for about 6 of those 9 years. My research interest did have to do with counseling faculty in the community college. So my title was Reimagining the Onboarding and Mentoring Needs of California Community College Counseling Faculty, an ecological systems approach using narrative inquiry. So I was really looking at the support systems that new counseling faculty do or do not have, and made recommendations for better ways to support them in that transition as they become first-time faculty members in the community college setting. And I'll pass it to Lori.
Thanks, Philip. My name is Lori Vertusio, and I was in cohort 18 with Brandy. I didn't finish until February, but because I defended before December, I got an extra semester to work on writing and also graduated in May. When I started the program, I was a teacher on special assignment at Beverly Hills for English language development. And then during the program, I jumped into admin over at Orange County as the coordinator of expanded learning for Newport Mesa. And by the time I graduated, I decided to return to language and literacy. And I'm now the coordinator of language and literacy at Orange County Department of Ed. So that was kind of my journey. And my dissertation title was Elementary Summer School, Culturally Responsive Practices and Academic Outcomes for English English learners, students in grade 4 through 6. I was an English learner going through public school, so it was really something that meant a lot to me, both personally and professionally. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, and then I have another question. Can you all tell me why you decided to choose LMU? What drew you to LMU?
Okay, I'll pop back in. So I was very, very intentional about looking for a program that would allow me to be fully self-expressed with my drive for and commitment to racial equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that social justice piece was extremely important to me, and not all doctoral programs honor that or center on that. So that was super important. At the time that we started, there was an in-person track and a online track. And so I started the program with a 1 and a 3-year-old. And so the online track, and I made it. So it's doable if you have small kids and you're wondering about that. It is doable. But the online track really was attracted to me. But for this particular program, the faculty that teach on campus are your same faculty that teach in the program. And that's really important if you're looking at other programs, because sometimes they outsource the faculty, and it could be great faculty, right? It's not to like downplay their expertise or anything, but it's really important to me that if I'm going to have a degree from a university that is representative of the same faculty, right, that other folks on campus are learning from, right? And so that was super important to me. The other thing that drew me to this program was the scholarship portion, because you don't usually see that. That's pretty unique for an EDD. Sometimes you see that with PhD programs, traditional PhD programs. And so that also said to me that they were kind of upholding their commitment to like the whole student and being social justice centered. And so, and then I also like that it was synchronous class, like a mixture of synchronous and asynchronous, because I learn best when I'm able to talk through things with like the professor and the students. And so even though it was online, it was very much still interactive, at least in our cohort. Lori May, I think you might agree. And so those were like some of the key things. And then also it was online, but I'm in Southern California, so if I needed to go to the campus, if I wanted to participate in some in-person things, we got together as a cohort in person and that sort of thing. So that was really nice to still have it close, like nearby as a home base. And then when our folks who were out of the state visited, we connected with them as well. So those were some of my reasons.
And I'll just piggyback off of what Brandy said. I think the scholarship was a big draw. And I was actually looking at EDD programs probably a couple years before, but since when LMU offered a fully online track, that's when I decided to really apply for that. Even though I was in Beverly Hills and it's not that far, I was not willing to be in LA traffic once or twice a week to do that commute. And I also I was part of USC's School Leadership Academy to get my admin credential. And I knew that online learning was a good fit for me. And when I compared USC and that sticker price to LMU, it was just, it was something that really helped me decide that, even if I got into both, it just made more sense for me to go to LMU. And I've been a public school kid all my life. Like I went to USC I did grad school at SDSU. This was really my first private school experience. And I totally get it now about, having a small cohort and really the value in the community. When I tell people, oh, I'm in a doctorate program at LMU, and you start seeing who in your professional network is also a lion in education. It has been really nice to kind of also build those bonds. One of the things, and it just continues, right? Because I'm also part of CAPL, so that's the California Asia Pacific Education Leaders Association, and it was started by LMU alum. So that it's really great that we're a part of AXA, and we're now the Asian American arm of AXA. And I think that that's kind of you'll just meet more lions that are like-minded and trying to do all the same things that you want to do and are like-minded and believe with things and with a lot of alignment.
And I think I would echo some of the things that were already said. The social justice component was huge for me. I was looking at programs for a long time, and a lot of programs will talk about equity and things like that, but where I really saw a difference was in the actual dissertations. I definitely recommend that you look at them and see the type of scholarship that's coming out of the program. One thing that I think is really cool that you won't really know until you do it, but like if you read through someone's dissertation at LMU, like you really get to know that person. They really align their research topic and their personality and their values. And I think that's really important. We're not getting forced into topics. We're not being persuaded out of our topics. There's true alignment, if you want that, which I think was important to me. I wanted my research to be on something that was meaningful to me. The scholarship was huge. It made the program the cheapest option actually out of all of the ones around here. And I didn't even know that until I committed to the program. But obviously I write in this world that we live in, that is a factor in this, right? We have to set ourselves up for short-term and long-term success as professionals, and that was a factor in my decision. And then the other two, I would say, is that, or really the one thing actually is the support that we have for the dissertation process. I know there was a slide earlier that talked about year 3 and like the dissertation support. Essentially, that's a year of advisement and hands-on writing support. And that was huge. I had weekly meetings with my chair. She was very, very hands-on in my process. There was actual writing support for my 5 chapters of my dissertation. We don't just get let loose and say, okay, come to us when you're ready with your dissertation. There's a lot of content support, research support, bouncing ideas off of you and your peers. When it comes to your methodology, your lit review, all of that is embedded in the program. It's not on your own outside of the program. And like I said, I'm a full-time faculty member. I've worked at multiple campuses while in the doctoral program, and I needed my brain to be in school mode when it was in school mode, and I needed to be elsewhere when I was not in school. And having that embedded support really is what helped me make it through within the 3 years. It was kind of not even an option for me to extend because I feel like I got the support that I needed to do a good dissertation by the deadline. And again, that was all within the timeline of the program, which I think is huge. And not all programs do that. A lot of times they'll say it's 3 years, but then if you talk to the students, they're really there for 4 years or more because they've done ABD, all but dissertation, and they're still waiting to finish that last publication. So keep an eye out for that as you're shopping for programs.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for that helpful information. Yeah. And then what resources did you utilize while completing your program? Some LMU resources.
I can take this one first. So part of being at LMU means that you're really a student. So a lot of the things that I've noticed when I was at USC and I was just doing a credential program that I didn't have access to their library or a lot of their other resources. But as LMU, even when you're an online student, it's like you're you have access to everything that the in-person students also have. I really have appreciated all of the emails that I got and being able to know what was going on in campus and things that were happening that I could also attend in terms of deciding to move from OCDE from Newport Mesa as a coordinator. One of the things that I did attend, there's job fairs that you could attend. And also in the first year, because we were the first year of cohort, but it was also during the pandemic. And so one of the things that I also accessed was student health. And so when everybody was trying to see a therapist and they were backed up for months and months, and it was going to take 2 months to see a therapist through my insurance. I actually was able to do I think it's called, and Michaela, I forgot what it's called. I think it's called like,
Timely care?
no, it's
No.
called student, I don't know, but it's the health services at LMU. And basically I told them I had to wait 2 months to see my therapist, and they kind of bridged the gap. And so that I was able to meet someone the following week. And so that was great. And also I was meeting with someone else from my cohort who was also, their therapist went elsewhere. And I told them about LMU, and they were also able to access that resource. So I think, you know, you are fully a student. You can really expect to be part of LMU, not just as, you know, and as a doctoral student, I didn't realize how often that I was going to use the library and how much I needed the library and the librarian, who has been really helpful and responsive and has been able to access all that. So from student health to resources and journals, I mean, I really felt, even though I didn't actually step foot on the LMU campus until my 3rd year, when I was about to graduate and doing graduation things, I really felt that if I wanted to come to LMU and participate in anything or access any of its resources, that it was available to me.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
I will add one more thing. So the library is key. So I won't beat that over you, but I think also there's a 24-hour function for those of us who are writing in the middle of the night after kids go to sleep and early in the morning before they wake up. And so that's really nice too, because there's always like, I don't know what the system is, but there's always like a librarian on call that you can just like log in and get information too. So that was super helpful. There's a lot of opportunities that are like, you're just an LMU student, to Lori's point. There was a application process for UCEA Jackson Scholars. And so that is a 2-year program. It's a nationwide cohort of students who are preparing for the professoriate or other other educational administration opportunities. So it's University Council of Education Administration. And then within it is the Dr. Barbara Jackson Scholars Program, and it's for students of color. And you're matched with like professors and deans and folks from all over the country as a mentor. If you're selected, I think they were selecting 1 to 2 at the time I was selected. And so it was so nice because it helped prepare me for the dissertation, in addition to all the embedded things that Philip talked about and Lori hit on. So we were going to conferences. In my time, we went to Columbus, Ohio, all paid by LMU, Columbus, Ohio, San Diego, right down the street, Chicago, Illinois, and Seattle, Washington, to present and or prepare for presenting the next time we were there. And that was super, super, super helpful in terms of networking, just learning what folks are doing in the field beyond California and what we're doing here. It was nice to just bond with other Jackson scholars and then have that community there. And again, all of that was paid for by LMU. And so that was really nice. And it just kept me on track because right before our proposals were due and our proposal defense, I had to present at UCA. And so I got that additional feedback, right? External feedback to see how was the landing from folks who may not be from the area, right? Folks with different lenses, folks who are experts in the field that I was producing research in. And so that was extremely helpful. But again, it's just another testament to the commitment that they had to us in this program.
I think I would just add two things. So there was mention about the brown bags that we have as part of our program. They're basically prearranged opportunities for out of class learning. So guest speakers, online workshops, and there is a component where you write little reflections as part of your graduation requirements. I think we had to do 6 or something like that, and I ended up going to way more than 6. There was a semester where I went through my work to like a paid conference to see this guest speaker, and then like that semester the same speaker was there just talking to our cohort, and I was like, dang, like really cool scholars in higher education coming in. I mean, across all areas, but really cool people that, like, you know, we read about in my master's program and in our doctoral program. We're just coming by and talking to our program on a Wednesday night, just us. And I thought that was really cool. And then the other thing, not to put her on blast, but having someone like Michaela help be a part of our program, someone to kind of guide us throughout is really, really important, because our faculty are great, but faculty sometimes are teaching their class and then they're supporting you in the dissertation process. But having someone in our program office that kind of has eyes on us and can support us throughout, give us reminders about financial aid, graduation petitions, things like that. Like I maybe it's the counselor in me, but like we really, really need that. And it's really helpful to have a home base, even if it's just like an email here and there that we're like, can you help? She's always there to help. So I think that's helpful too, right? Having that cohort structure, people have eyes on you, whether you're in person or online. It really, really makes a big difference when you're trying to get through those milestones in the program.
Yeah, and just to echo what Philip said about kind of those resources with the brown bag, even the guest speakers from our own professors have been really exceptional. One of our professors in the program for cohort 18 was Professor Zaswete, and he is the president of AXA. And so if you know, since he's the executive director of AXA, he got us in a Zoom meeting, our cohort in a Zoom meeting with Tony Thurman. There was like 11 people on this Zoom with Tony Thurman. And it was amazing that sometimes the people that you get to hear from, just even through Zoom, was really impactful and just really grows your professional network. And just echoing, you know, Michaela, especially, I'm very anxious. Just being able to know that you can email Michaela real quick and she's gonna, you know, I've always heard from her within like 24 hours, and it was very reassuring.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for those wonderful answers. We do have a question in the chat from a student, so I'll go ahead and allow the prospective students the opportunity to ask you all questions. Nancy has asked, can you share the support within your cohort? How would you describe the way you interacted with your cohort peers?
I can start us off. So I was in cohort 18, and I know that each, yes, and we're super proud of that. Look, it's like a thing. It's like C18 or nothing, right? Although we love the entire community of Lions, but I think, you know, each cohort has its own culture and life and that sort of thing. For cohort 18, in my experience, it was extremely supportive. We gelled right away. Like I have cried with C18, laughed, done karaoke with C18. And it was just so nice to have those, like a group of people who were where you are in the journey, because while you're going through this journey, like your life does become sort of consumed, not to scare anyone, like if we get to the point where we can talk about balance, right? There are ways to balance it, but your brain is at some point, because especially when you're the dissertation writing part, in my experience, it's like consumed with research and writing, and now your brain putting together connections in the middle of the day, right? And like your family, unless there's someone who's gone through a very similar program or friends, may not understand where you are. And so it is extremely important to identify that community. And it so happened for me that a huge part of my community was my cohort. And then we also had dissertation writing communities. And so at that point, it was kind of sad because we split our cohort into two, and a lot of us had separation anxiety from that, but we still was in like our WhatsApp group and checking in with each other. But it did make the group smaller, right? And then we had directed assistance and just time to like talk with you. Some of those classes were literally like, where are you? How are you feeling? Are you stuck? Like, those sorts of things, kind of going back to the support that Philip talked about. So my experience was really good. And it's only been a few months since we all walked together. And because at a certain point, you all start finishing, right? Kind of like in this stagger, but I still definitely stay connected to folks. And so it was a wonderful experience for me.
Yeah, and just to echo what Brandy was saying is being part of cohort 18 was really amazing. One of the first things we did as a cohort is how do we want to communicate? And so we did this icebreaker in our first class of whether you're a chaos Muppet or an order Muppet. And so we decided to create WhatsApp groups, like a order WhatsApp group for all things LMU related to our classes. And then we had a WhatsApp chaos group where we got to learn about and motivate each other for all other things, so that you could opt in to both or one or none. And everybody, I think, was in both. So it was a really great support for us, and also getting to learn who everybody is. When I started and I was at Beverly Hills, there was someone in our cohort that was in Culver City. And so I lived walking distance to downtown Culver City. So we would happy hour together, and she became my cohort bestie. And but besides that, I mean, our entire cohort has really just gelled. And so when I moved from Culver to down to OC, then I was closer to other member of other people in our cohort that I got to be able to become closer to, because we were able to do that. And in my new position, I was able to connect with someone over this summer because I wanted to borrow her books on coaching, because it's been a while since I've been a coach. And so, she let me borrow her book. She's moving into an AP position. She didn't really need them this year. We got to, we're both Filipino. So we went to downtown LA, and we went to like a very Fil-Am restaurant, and it was great. Like it has just really, the network and the kind of connections that I have with my cohort, they're all individually very special and kind of, but also as a cohort, very supportive. And when I go to events and I also meet other Lions, it's just very reaffirming.
And I think I would just say the program attracts really cool people. I think, at least, I don't know, I think so. Like the social justice component, of course, it's in our curriculum, but it just attracts your people, if that's how you identify, But so I think that part was really cool, is that these cohorts are designed with different, but different and unique, I should say, not but, individuals with cool life experience, and they're from all over the place. So K through 12, early education, nonprofit, the business world. So there's a lot of different perspectives happening. For transparency purposes, for my cohort 19, we were the last in-person cohort that was definitely impacted by COVID. So I think that was tough on us. Like we kind of expected some in-person, or mostly in person, and due to some of the constraints, you know, we really did have to transition to hybrid and online when possible, for almost the first half of my program. And that definitely did take a toll on people who thought we were going to have an in-person experience. But even with that, I feel like our cohort was still very close. I like the way Lori said, like, you have individual relationships and a group relationship. So of course, as a cohort, we were hanging out and doing study sessions and things like that. But in the small cohort number, right, of 20-ish people, like, you really do have really unique relationships. And that leads to conversations of, you know, how are you doing? Where are you at in this process? I hear you're looking for a job. Can I connect you with this person? I need some help. You know, who did you use for your editor? So some of that's happening in the group space, and then a lot of it's happening in this one-on-one space as you just make relationships. And those were able to form even though we had a lot of the online stuff for us, right? So I think hopefully we all know this, but like, you cannot do this process alone. So hopefully when you do decide that you're ready to do these programs, you go into it with the goal of really making close connections with your cohort, because that is the best way to maximize your success in the program, both while you're a current student and while you're an alumni. We really rely on each other for information, because you're going to have experts in all of these different fields that are your friends, and you can rely on them even after the program's over.
Thank you. We do have some more questions. We have a question from Elka. She said she has some concerns about the cost and the time commitment. Did any of you struggle to pay for the program outside of the scholarship? And did you find yourselves needing to make significant adjustments to work situations as you went through the program? She's the co-executive director of a nonprofit org, and that org's grant writer, and also teaches at a local university part-time, struggling to imagine how to balance all of that. So that's a great point, great question. We can dive back into that work-life balance with you all.
So all of us were working in sort of high demand roles during the program. And so I know we all managed that a little differently. For me, I did make an adjustment, a weekly adjustment, that I just worked with my vice president on. So, well, I was in a different role when I started the program. I was a director of a Black Student Success program at another community college, and some of the other cultural services. So at the beginning, I had a dean and a vice president that was super supportive. When I became a dean, I had a vice president that was supportive, and I was just very transparent in the interview process about where I was and that sort of thing. And so on Tuesdays, which was like our class day for my program, I left work early, and I know that that's going to vary based on like your job and contract and that sort of thing, but I just needed a gap right between work, especially given all of my duties at work. And I don't want to leave like crisis mode and then roll right into work. Right into class. And class did run pretty late some semesters. I don't know if Lori and Philip, it's been a while now, but like it could end close to 10 o'clock. 9:30, 10. Yeah. Okay. So that's a really long day. So I will leave work around 3 or 3:30, just so I can have like an hour to an hour and a half of time with family and by myself, eat, prep, get my mind ready for class. So that was really important. So that was my biggest adjustment, but I would recommend that you also, if you have PTO or paid time off and that sort of thing, just build some time in, even if you're not going anywhere, to just be with yourself and family, or even to write once you're in the like dissertation phase of it. So that's what I would say. And I didn't have I didn't struggle to pay for the program, but the program scholarship was super helpful, of course. But I think the biggest thing is just the time management, right? And like I'm not going to go into like a seminar on it, but like blocking your schedule, right? So that you have like, you can be present at work, you can be present for school, and really reserving a day. So sometimes you have asynchronous classes. Like, don't give that day up because you're not in class. Like, that is your day, right? That you go in and you read or you write. Because if you give that day up, you might fall a little behind, or it could become stressful, depending on how much free time you have around work and family commitments and other life commitments.
Yeah, and I think a theme is really community. And you do within your own community of your family and also at work, you have to be very clear with your community that this is going to be a priority for you that you're engaging in for the next 3 years. Because you have to let people also give you that time and be able to really build that community. I think I think especially for people that usually do social justice work, we're not used to asking our people for things. And we need to, if you're going to commit to a doctoral program, you're going to need to ask your community that, this is something that I'm going to engage in for 3 years. And this is my time. Like usually we had class on Tuesday nights. And so Tuesday for the next 3 years is a no-go. Just really, like Brandy said, block that out. You also get the syllabus at the beginning of every semester, so that when you have to go plan around your life, if you know something is, well, for me, when I knew something was due in 3 weeks, but I knew that weekend was full and the next weekend is full, that means I had to get it done this weekend if I wasn't going to do and really just manage my schedule a little bit better and not and because I know what the class is gonna take, it is designed for people that have really busy and high demanding schedules. So it was doable, even though it was a lot for 3 years. I'm still trying to get used to having my time back. It's like I almost don't even know what to do with myself. But I just came from a vacation 2 weeks in Canada, which was like amazing. And it was very rejuvenating. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not writing. I'm done writing. And I would just like to say that even when I started the program, I was already making a 6-figure salary. And so I actually did not use any financial aid because you can spread out your payments 5 months per semester. And so the monthly, what I was paying monthly to not take out a loan for this program was probably the cost of like 2 or 3 car payments. So if you can swing that, you can, it might be an option for you because, I was in debt for my master's degree. And then once I paid that off, I said, no, never again. I'm not taking out an education loan ever. And I'm only getting my EDD if I can pay for it. If I can pay for it. And so, I had saved up a little bit of money from the jump as a buffer, but that $30,000 really made a difference. And having Michaela to just, kind of give us like, this is what's happening. I think that the hardest part was really the summer semesters because that you couldn't spread over 5 months. You had to pay it in full. And that was like $6,000-7,000 in one payment. So I think that's kind of a stretch. But the ones for the semester, I was able to kind of spread out using their 5-month program.
I think I'm just gonna add, like, I think the finance piece was kind of answered. I also had a full-time job and an adjunct job at the same time while in the program. Which was, I'm working through that on my own. I don't know why I did that to myself, but I decided to do that. And I think one thing that I will say is that, at least in my experience and with the faculty that I worked with, I know everyone's different, but I felt like the assignments were very intentional. There's not a lot of busy work. So when there was a moment where I was like, I have a presentation and I have to do this info session for my students at my job. Like, I could talk to the professor and say, hey, I need a little bit of time. And they were very understanding. These aren't, just assignments to turn them in. These are really meant to be a part of your process. So while it is very important to find your pace and to take this seriously, life happens, and that's professional life, and highs and lows that come outside of academia as well, right? In your families and your responsibilities. So in my experience, at least, even with the busyness, there's moments of grace from this program to make sure that we're able to do the work that we need to do.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. And also thank you, Philip, for answering the other question in the chat about the dissertation topics and research topics, letting Sarah know that a lot of you did end up changing your research goals throughout the process. So I do want to be mindful of all of your time. We've reached 6 p.m. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight and hearing from our amazing doctoral alumni. Thank you, Philip, Lori, and Brandy for being here this evening. We really appreciate your insight into the program and learning more about your amazing work. So thank you all. Have a wonderful evening,
Thanks
everyone.
for having us. Good luck, y'all.
Yeah, sending good vibes, everybody. Good luck.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck.